I also, though, know that what we're watching with the vice president, this is not a coronation of the vice president because, with the way that the system works, is you go through a primary process, delegates are selected, and then delegates then choose how they are going to vote. That's the way the system works. And once the president decided that he was not going to run, the vice president came out and said that she was going to run, and he endorsed her. And then she went out and earned the support of the delegates. It's still an open window if other people want to get inside this race. But I think people now do realize that the support that the vice president has earned, not just from the delegates, but from the party faithful as a whole, I think that is real. But this was not a coronation of the vice president. I still think she knows not only to get the delegates, she had to go earn it, but also, frankly, when it comes to November, she knows she's got to go earn it. But she's going to have an army of people who support her and who believe in her vision for the future that will go out there and help her do that.
Let's talk about what you think the change means in terms of the state of the race. Look, the only thing I disagree with you on is you are correct. In the primary process, you voted, and that also meant that you were voting for a slate of delegates from wherever you were voting. But you were picking delegates for Joe Biden. You didn't pick them for Kamala Harris or for anyone else. So there is a one-step removal from the Democrats who voted to what's happening right now. But I understand your analysis, and we'll leave it at that.
Well, that's true.
Now, what do you think the change? What do you think the change means?
I agree with you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I do agree with you, but I know the way that the system does work, and this is both for Democrats and Republicans, is that once those delegates were released, the delegates could go wherever they wanted to go. The delegates just chose to go with the vice president. And so I think because the delegates chose to go to vice president, it's not fair to say that it was a rigged system or was an unfair system. The system actually worked. Where the delegates were selected, the delegates then had a choice as to where they were going to go if the person who they voted for decided they were not going to run, or for whatever reason they were not able to commit to continue the race. And then the delegates are free, and the delegates chose to vote for the vice president. So I agree with you on the way that the system is framed out, but actually I think what we've seen here is evidence that the system actually works.
All right, look, it's happening anyway. I just would have waited till the convention if I were you guys and tried to give a pretensive process so you could add more people. But I understand the exigencies. Do you believe that Vice President Harris at the top of your ticket, regardless of, we'll have to see who she picks, who the party picks as VP, do you believe she has a better chance to beat Donald Trump? Do you think she will beat Donald Trump, and why?
I think she will be Donald Trump because I think the argument now is very clear and the choice is very clear. I think part of the challenge that we've had for these past 3 weeks is so much of the conversation has not been of the issues. The conversation has not been of this very clear choice about the distinct difference between not just the past, but also the present and the future. And I think that the vice president, that Kamala Harris, is going to be able to uniquely prosecute the case, both about the past of Donald Trump, the present of Donald Trump, and his future vision. That was not happening for these past 4 weeks. And so, if anything, I think what's going to happen now is the American people are going to get the debate that they deserve. The American people are actually going to get a chance to go out and actually see for themselves very distinct visions, very distinct differences in where they lie, and then be able to make that choice.
I'm laughing, not at you, Wes, because you're too tall, but at your tweet. Donald Trump is about to find out being the president of the United States is a black job. Look, that's one of his more obnoxious things that has been forgiven way too fast, in my opinion. When he just said migrants are coming in, or illegals, or whatever disparaging word he wanted to use, are taking black jobs, and everybody just let it go. Like it's okay to talk about black jobs as if that's a thing, as if this is a monolithic people. And it gives me a segue into something I wanted to ask you about. Anyone who does 45 seconds of research on you, you are dripping with a merit-based look at the American dream, in my opinion. I'm a big fan. I'm transparent about it. I don't care that you're a Democrat. On some levels, I wish you weren't, because I don't like the two-party system. But as somebody who has earned and earned and earned, what does it mean to you to hear this attack on Harris directly and tangentially, DEI, DEI. If she weren't black, I had a guy say to me on the radio today, if it weren't for the color of her skin and what's between her legs, those were his words, and he's a huge radio host in this country, she would have never been VP. She would have never gotten this choice. What does that kind of talk mean to you, and what is your response to it vis-a-vis Harris?
My response is I ignore it.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.